What's up, good people? I'm just Major. You saw the title. You like the Marjorie. We're here to talk about it. Luckin Coffee. Never heard of them before today. But are they trying to take over the top spot in the coffee business? Let's check it out.
China's largest coffee chain is taking on the US. At the beginning of September 2025, just 2 months since its launch, Luckin had opened 5 stores in New York City. The coffee giant has only been around since 2017, but it's become a dominant force in its domestic market, with almost all of its 26,000 locations in China. For reference, Starbucks has just under 8,000 in China, and about 7.
Wait, wow. So Starbucks has 17,230 units in the US. That's a lot. Man, but Luckin has over 26,000 in China alone? Wow. Man, wow. That's a lot of stores.
17,000 in the US. CNBC visited one of the first Luckin locations in New York. It had a number on the coffee counter, 00002. The zeros suggest that Luckin may be looking to scale its locations here into the thousands. But what challenges could Luckin face as it enters the US market? And what kind of threat could it pose to coffee chains like Starbucks? Luckin is a relatively young company, but has already experienced some major ups and downs. Founded in June 2017, within 2 years, the company went public on the NASDAQ. Its initial growth was rapid, and Wall Street was bullish on its future. From Q1 of 2018 to Q1 of 2019, Luckin's customer base soared from 485,000 people to 16.9 million. That's about 45,000 new customers per day.
It's a volume game. At the end of the day, Luckin is pointing to have the sales leverage come through the door, minimize the cost of the real estate by having as many transactions as possible, and so be it if the marginal profit on the marginal coffee is relatively small. They are trying to optimize for transactions.
But only after 18 months as a publicly traded company, Luckin was charged with fraud by the SEC. In its preliminary IPO filing, the company noted that it is an emerging growth company, which meant it was eligible for reduced reporting requirements. Most notably, Luckin didn't need an auditor to attest to its internal management. In January 2020, short seller Muddy Waters Research shared an anonymous report that alleged fraudulent reporting of key business metrics to manipulate investor confidence. The report said it utilized 92 full-time and over 1,400 part-time staff to run surveillance and record store traffic for 981 days in 620 stores. Luckin's stock price tanked in the wake of the report. In February 2020, the company issued a press release calling the short seller's report misleading and false. Investors and analysts also had doubts about its validity, and the stock rebounded. But by April, an internal investigation found the COO had fabricated 2019 sales.
Wow. At 80% after investigation finds COO fabricated sales. 80%. Man, that's enough to get you delisted off the NASDAQ. Wow. Wow, that's crazy.
By $310 million. Shares fell over 80%, wiping out $5 billion off its market cap. It turns out the company was also reporting millions in profits when restated filings show it was actually operating at a loss. Luckin was delisted from the NASDAQ in June 2020 and filed for bankruptcy less than a year later. But Luckin emerged from bankruptcy in 2022. It brought in new leadership and cleaned up its balance sheet. Over the next 3 years, it more than tripled its store count and quickly overtook Starbucks in China by total revenue. Despite a report from the Financial Times that Luckin was plotting its return to the NASDAQ, the company still trades on the OTC market, or over-the-counter market, a less regulated exchange. Its share price is up around 100% over the past year.
Luckin relies entirely on mobile ordering. It cuts down the wait time in the stores and also reduces the amount of labor that it needs to operate. I see a coupon here for a $1.99 drink on my first order. Luckin's full-priced items aren't actually that far off from Starbucks, but the difference is you're rarely ever paying full price. The app showers you with coupons. So much so that it's actually unlikely its initial stores are even profitable right now. That is not how its competitor operates.
Starbucks has always strived to be profitable on a single occasion. In the case of Luckin, the idea is I want to grow in awareness. I want to make sure that the brand gets recognized on a national basis, even though at the beginning this means that I might need to be suffering from some smaller losses on a per store basis.
New York is an expensive place to operate a coffee shop. Equity research firm Bernstein analyzed its initial profitability. Rent for Luckin's Midtown location is around $15,000 per month, and labor costs are around $66,000 per month. Utilities, maintenance, and insurance could cost another $10,000. That puts its overhead at around $92,000. In the report published in late July 2025, less than a month after opening, the stores were estimated to be generating $85,000 per month, averaging about 500 to 600 orders per day. Order volumes would need to be double that to break even. I ordered on the app to test out the experience. It says it should be ready in just a couple of minutes. Walking up to the store. Here is Luckin. Thank you. Thank you. Luckin had some really interesting and innovative drinks in there. I saw pineapple cold brew on the menu. This is a coconut ice latte. It's one of their most popular drinks, and it's really good. It's
They have some chai latte. I don't drink coffee. Do they have some chai latte?
just a hint of coconut and not too sweet. The company rolled out nearly 120 new drinks and food items in China in 2024, but it launches these new varieties carefully, using a strategic, data-driven approach to test new products on the market. Neither Starbucks nor Luckin agreed to an interview with CNBC for this story, but the Chinese coffee company had noted in a press release that its initial soft launch in New York City would enable the company to gain localized operational insights into site selection, product innovation, and customer experience, providing valuable insights for the company's global expansion. Traffic to the Starbucks across the street from the Midtown Luckin location that we visited was not particularly affected during the initial weeks of its launch. This specific Starbucks was already seeing large year-over-year drops in visits, irrespective of the Luckin opening. Replicating Luckin's success in China here in the US may not be as easy as it seems.
Here in the United States, the coffee culture is much more mature, and a new brand, for as a new challenger it might seem, they are facing some local competition to national competition, and so displacing some of the larger players might be just harder. Secondly, purely from a
Yeah, that local competition in the coffee market is big time, especially here in the US. As a matter of fact, so I mentioned that I really love some chai tea. Chai lattes, whatever you want to call it. I don't drink coffee. Can't stand coffee. Don't even like the smell of coffee. But I like the chai over at Starbucks. And I'll tell you this, there is one coffee shop in East Atlanta that beats out the chai latte at Starbucks. There is a coffee shop, and that coffee shop in East Atlanta, it's the only one that I know of in Atlanta, period, by that name. It's Drip Coffee. There's another one that it's around a little bit, but it's Paris Baguette, and they got a few locations in Metro Atlanta. The chai latte at Paris Baguette beats out the one at Drip Coffee, which beats out the chai at Starbucks. So Paris and Drip are pretty much some local. Paris might be not so much local because they got a few locations that might be franchise, but Drip, man, they give them a run for their money. And at Drip, my wife loves their coffee better than she loves the one at Paris and Starbucks. As a matter of fact, my wife doesn't even drink the coffee at Starbucks unless we just happen to be in the airport and she finds one. But yeah, that local market in the coffee business is big time in the US.
From a cultural standpoint, especially in this day and age, we are seeing the United States retrenching a little bit more toward American brands.
And while many chains are rewarding customers for using their mobile app, some might be adverse to that as their only option. The woman in front of me tried to add an additional drink to her order in person, and the guy said, no, it all has to go through the app. The guy behind me walked in, and I guess he didn't realize that it was an entirely mobile, cashierless environment, and he tried scanning the QR code, downloading the app, got frustrated, and just walked out. So there still seems to be a little bit of friction around this idea of an entirely mobile environment.
It's distinct from Starbucks, which is telling you sort of coming into stores, that employee connection is still important. Luckin doesn't necessarily have that, right? So I think our view would be that that isn't a broader threat to Starbucks. Do they establish somewhat of a foothold in major cities?
But the past couple years have been rocky for Luckin's main competitor, Starbucks. The company brought in former Chipotle CEO Brian Niccol last year to revitalize the brand. The hire cost the company $85 million in cash and stock compensation. He's made all sorts of top-down efforts, like having baristas write messages on the cups and adding more comfortable seating into the stores to revive the brand's coffee house image.
In the case of the United States, for Luckin will be trying to approach the overseas expansion without necessarily having the same level of localized and deep-rooted experience into this market that enable them to be scaling rapidly in China. I'm not saying that this may not be a threat to Starbucks, but Starbucks has still the incumbent. They still are significantly more relevant for a US consumer. But what we have seen in the store might be indicative of the fact that if the awareness were to be rising, consumers might be lacking that product and could be a potential threat to Starbucks.
Do you need to cut price at all? You talked about the value scores. Given there are so many new entrants into the beverage space with so much added competition, McDonald's, Luckin, there are so many others. Are you thinking about price cuts?
I do believe we are a premium brand, and I do believe you get a premium experience with the Green Apron service model, and what we're doing to our coffee houses to give people that coffee house experience again. So.
No, they ain't thinking about no price cuts. Are you kidding me? This is business. But we're going to stop it right there, man. It's Brian Niccol, the new CEO of Starbucks. Check out my video that I did on him where he threw the former CEO of Starbucks under the bus. Wow. So, but let me know what you think, man, in the comments. What do you like? You like the local coffee shops? You like the big time, like Starbucks? I don't think they have Luckin here in Metro Atlanta. I think, like the video was saying, they only have in the US those 5 locations in New York. I could be wrong. But yeah, let me know what you like in the comments, and I'll holla at you. 3 million subscribers. Loaded.